Hi everyone, welcome to Thursday. Now today what we're going to do is instead of doing a share and review, I've had a viewer ask if we can do a fundamental analysis on a share. So that's what we're going to take a look at and how to do that. Now before I do share my screen, just to give you the housekeeping rules, and that is this is definitely not considered personal financial advice. This is just a methodology that I did apply several years ago when I was first looking at trading shares. So I'm just going to show you what I was taught back then. Now, the disclaimer here as well is that I did not personally have a lot of success using the fundamental analysis. I've had a lot more success using the technical analysis, which is what I demonstrate to you every week when I'm doing the share and review and also looking at the performance of the main board on the New Zealand Stock Exchange. But I'm happy to share this with you. Then you can do your own research and find out what is going to work best for you. So let's take a look. Right, I have just chosen Mercury Energy. No reason other than when I looked at my recently viewed, over here on the right-hand side, Mercury was one of the first ones that was up there on the screen. So now I am recording this on Monday. It's Monday afternoon. It won't really make too much difference, but you can see the market's open and Mercury at this stage is down about 20 cents just for the day. Now, over on the left-hand side, you can see here it's highlighted the summary of Mercury Energy. And if I scroll down, it gives you a few key figures and things, if you like. Obviously, where the share closed previously, where it's opened this morning, what the bid and the ask is, and those are the two prices and how many open interest there is on those. It's also giving you the daily trading range, the 52-week trading range, how much volume's traded today, and also the average. Then it gives you obviously the market cap, so that's how big in size Mercury Energy is. We've got the price earnings ratio, the earnings per share, earnings dates, as you can see there, the forward dividend yield, which is currently 3.47%, and when it goes ex-dividend. And you'll also see down the bottom here, it's got a one-year target estimate. So those are analysts' estimate as to where the share perhaps potentially should be trading, and they're estimating at around $6.89. Now, if I carry on down the left-hand side, obviously I normally just go into the chart figure, but we're not going to look at that today. You can also see here that we've got statistics, historical data, profile about the company, all of these sorts of things. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click on the financials. And up the top here, it's highlighted in blue, the income statement. The next one across is the balance sheet. And then the third one is the cash flow. So this is the information that you would get if you were receiving their annual reports and things from Mercury Energy. A good indicator to look at is the debt to equity ratio. So that is how much equity have the likes of Mercury got versus their debt. So the same sort of thing can be applied when you buy a house. Obviously, a house might be worth 500,000. You might have put in 100,000 for your deposit, and you've borrowed from the bank 400,000. So you've got a 20% equity in that particular property. So let's take a look at Mercury Energy. First of all, we want to go to the balance sheet. Okay, let's click on that. We then want to look at total assets, and you can see there's a little drop down arrow here, and you can click on that and it will tell you the current assets, and each one you can click on. So we want to take the total assets, which is that 9,958,000 figure. We want to take it off the total debt, and which is the next figure down, which is that 5,055,000. Now that gives us the equity. We then want to take that figure and divide it by the total assets. And then if you times that by 100, it gives you the equity ratio. Now, a good example is to look for a share that has potentially less than 75% debt to equity ratio. In Mercury Energy's example, they're over that. They're at 77.11%. Now, the next one to take a look at is the return on equity. So we want to look at the income statement, so we'll just go to that one. Now we want to look at the net income. If I scroll down here, you can actually see it was sort of almost repeated twice. You've got net income here from continuing and discontinued operations. And then a little bit further down, you've got net income again from continuing operation and net minority interests. If you hold your cursor over any of these on the left-hand side, it will actually bring them up. So we want to take that figure, which is $1,000, and we want to divide that by the shareholder equity. Now, to find that, we need to go to the balance sheet. So it does require a little bit of work to do this. Now, under this, if we click on the total equity, gross minority interest, click on that little drop-down box, it brings you the shareholders' equity. So we take that figure, which is $4,903,000, and we divide it by our net income. And then again, we times that figure by 100. And in this example, it gives us 0.02%. So really, ideally, if we were wanting a top performing share, or potentially that's something that is going to be performing well, we want to have that return on equity of at least around 15%. Now, the next thing we want to look at is the share price increasing by around 15% for the last 5 years? What we can do here is go back over to the left-hand side. We can look at historical data. Now, if I click on that, at this stage, it's just brought up the last 12 months. Now, we can click on that drop-down box and let's go for the last 5 years. Now, if I go to the very right-hand side, let's click on monthly. So here we go. For the last 5 years, broken down to each month, you can see what the open was of Mercury Energy, the high, the low, and the close, and the adjusted closed. Now, the adjusted close takes into account any potential share splits that have happened on this particular share. Mercury hasn't had any, but what it does is it adjusts it as if the share split had taken place across all of that time period. So that's why they have that. And that's something that I would look at if I was evaluating a share for the fundamentals. I would look at the adjusted close. Let's scroll down. And just for simplicity, let's have a look here. 1st of March 2021, Mercury Energy had a share price of $5.59. And if we just scroll back up a bit, and we can see here on the 1st of March 2022, it had, or an adjusted value, if you like, of $5.16. That is not increasing by 15% each year. So again, Mercury wouldn't be on the radar based on these fundamental analysis. We also want to make sure that it's got providing consistent earnings over time. So let's have a look at that. So if I click on the financials tab and it just comes back up to the income statement, if I scroll down, you've got basic earnings per share and you've also got diluted earnings per share. That's the sort of figure that I would look at to make sure that it's quite consistent. And it's already got annual. You can put it onto quarterly if you want. Now, this is just bringing up, obviously, the last sort of 4 years. That's not showing anything for this year as at June. But if we look at end of June last year, it's showing about 21 cents of earning per share. Back in 23, it was only showing 7 cents. And then if we go back a year again, it was showing 0.34 cents per share for earnings. That to me is not consistent, but that's the sort of thing that you want to look at. Now, the last thing also that we want to look at is the PE ratio, so the price earnings ratio of this particular company. So for that, we will go to the statistics tab on the left-hand side. If I just scroll down here, basically we want to look at the forward PE ratio, and that's showing 27.7. We want that to be, according to what I was taught, to be under 16. So 16 would be your maximum there. Unfortunately, Mercury wasn't a good example to have a look at. Very good fundamentals, if you like, but hopefully that's helped. If I just go back onto the left-hand side, if I keep scrolling down, so we've looked at historical data. If I click on profile, it brings up the things like the executives. and that it's obviously got their pay and things as well, not all of them. We've looked at financials. If I go down another one, we can click on analysis. And this is what the researchers have recommended, and that for Mercury Energy, they're saying that there's been 4 analysts here, and basically the current share price you can see here is $6.73. On average, the analysts have worked out that it should be around $6.89. And there is a little recommendation here as well. I've never really looked at these because very rarely do analysts have a sell on their shares. So it is saying here that if I look at September, it's saying that 3 out of 5 analysts are saying hold it, 1 is saying buy, and 1 is giving a strong buy. So that is purely speculative. It's what someone's feel is on that particular share. Okay, so you've just got to take that with caution, really, and do your own research. We don't have options in the New Zealand share market, so that one's doesn't have anything. It brings up the holders. So if I click on that one, it shows you how many of the major shareholders there are, and you can see here that just over, or nearly 54% is held by insiders. And then you can click on these tabs. So the insider roster doesn't bring up anything, and the insider transactions as well doesn't really bring up a lot on that. And then the last one that you can look at is the sustainability. So a lot of shares now are measured for ESG, which is basically environmental, social, and governance, and it's their risk ratings under there. It also brings up how the likes of Mercury Energy rates in relation to its peers as well. So you can see here, ethical, social, and governance. Some of them don't have any ratings. As you can see here, this Ormat Technologies, never heard of them. And there's also Concord New Energy Group. Some of these aren't even on the New Zealand Stock Exchange. In fact, the only one that is Mercury. So it's just pulling up some random companies that it's giving an ESG score against. So you can see here, if I go back to the left, it gives us a total score of 18.4. They say it's negligible. Environmental risk, social risk, and governance risk. And if I just scroll down a little bit, it's saying here that Mercury Energy's got a low controversy level. Obviously, it's rated right down here for a 1, right up to a 4. And you can see here that the average category score is a 1.1. So that's obviously if you are looking, if basically sustainable, ethical, all of those sorts of things are important to you when evaluating a share, this is where you could go and have a look at that as well. So I'll just stop sharing. I really hope that's helped. Like I say, I stress that this is what I initially started doing when I was first getting into share trading. I had some success, I had a lot of losses, and it wasn't until I learned technical analysis that I certainly started to have a lot more success within my share trading. But hey, I hope that's helped. I hope that's helped you to sort of navigate around some areas of Yahoo Finance where you can find a lot of, obviously, the fundamental balance sheets, that sort of thing, the income statements for whatever share that you are looking at. If you've got any more questions, by all means, sing out. Happy to help, happy to do what I can in this area. But I do stress it's certainly not an area that I'm completely strong on, but I'm happy to do what I can. So until next week, take care.